My screen. All right, everyone. I'm Williams family. Our Torah portion this week is going to be found in the book of Leviticus, Vayikra, chapter number 25. And it begins off with Yahweh speaking to Moshe on Mount Sinai, which I find to be interesting because why is this introduced right here? Right? So did he go back up to the mountain? Is this something that was already been said? Why is this put right here? Right? Because at this moment, we've already been through the book of Vayikra, and we understand that they were inaugurated into the priesthood. We understand that Nadav and Abihu died. We understand that the tabernacle has been erected and that they were getting ready for service. And Yah is letting them know, hey, be ye, Kadosh, exist as Kodashim, for I am, Ani Yahweh, I'm Kadosh. And so we know that, the Most High, it doesn't tell us that Moshe went up. It just says that this is what Yahweh said to Moshe on Mount Sinai. So the time in which he went up to Mount Sinai is at the time where he received, after they received the 10 words, and he went up there, but he went up there on several occasions. He didn't just go on one time. He went up back and forth at least 3 to 4 times. But the point is that this in particular mountain that's mentioned right here has the name of Mount Sinai. Do you guys know what the name of the other name for Mount Sinai is?
Is it? It's not Mount Aurora, is it?
It's Mount
Hermon,
Korev.
Horeb.
Yeah, I'm trying to spell it right, but it would probably show up as Horev, but it's really Korev. Okay, it's really Korev. Okay, and it's not a V here, but it's a B, but the pronunciation is a V sound. It's a soft V sound. And so Mount Korev is a place of what they would call, Korev in Hebrew means sword. Okay, it's a place of the sword, which represents punishment. Okay, that's what Mount Korev means. This is the reason why Yah chose this in particular mountain to go to. Because he's letting them know, like, I'm telling you that if you don't do what I'm saying to you, okay, or what I've instructed you to do, you're going to be met with punishment. And so we haven't got there yet, but later on this week and probably on Shabbat, if Yah is willing, is going to talk more about this punishment. Okay, so chapter number 25 is Yah telling Moshe to go and tell the people of Israel, like, when you enter the land I'm giving you, the land itself is to observe a Shabbat of rest for Yahweh. Okay. Of course, in the English, they're telling us that, it's an observation. So from our understanding, we want to know, is it just to keep it? Is it to do it? What is it? Right. So let's take a quick peek at it to find out what it's really saying. Okay. Because it's not just observe, because that can mean anything. Right. So looking at it, in verse number 1, it says, "Why do ber Yahweh the El Moshe Baher Sinai," saying, speak, meaning a command. Verse number 2, we're reading from right to left, the Bnei of Yisrael. And way Marta, you are to say Elohim to them, the key. When you come into this El Eretz, Asherani, the no thing that I'm giving to you, that I want you to washavatah. Okay. And so this word washavatah right here is not to keep. Okay, to keep in Hebrew is shamar. Okay, it's shamar, right? Which is to keep and to guard. That's what shamar means. So it's not that word, because this one here is a shin, a bet, and then we got a tav. Okay, and then a hay on the end. So this word right here is the same as this. So it's not that you shall keep it. It is talking about how this land shall cease, because that's what Shabbat is. Okay, so let's click on it right quick to show you that that word right there with Shabbatai is not to keep. That's the English way of saying it. It's something a little bit deeper than just keeping it. It's the Shabbat. Okay, and we understand that the Shabbat means to cease and desist. That's what we're talking about. I need you to cease and desist. And the reason for this is because the land itself, which we'll find on later on during our study this week, the land itself goes through a period of what they would call to cease and to desist, just like we do. Okay, so here it is with Shabbatah, the hot rest is Shabbat Yahweh. So this here is, I want you to Shabbat the land. I need you to cease the land, for it is a Shabbat. We got two Yahweh, right? But we got two nouns together. They're in a construct. And what it is in a construct means that these go together. That means that this is something that belongs to him. Okay, just like the sons of Israel. Okay, when you talk to them, when you got two nouns together, anytime in this language, when you put two nouns together, okay, like for example, let me show you right quick, because you guys are students. That says the sons of Yisrael. We know that there is no of in the Hebrew language. Okay, but this goes back to our first book that we talked about. When you got two nouns that are put together, the idea would become the or these sons, and then, right? And then it says of, and then Yisrael. Okay, so when you got two nouns together, that's called a construct. And that's the reason why it's not by name, but it's by name. Okay. And there's some rules that you've learned in the past about when you got these two nouns together. It's called a semikuth. And a semikuth means to lay your hand on something and to, bring it together. Okay. Like when they lay their hands on the offerings, they say, well, lay your hands on the offering. And then
I've seen a YouTube video recently.
It joins you. I can't go on mute. There you go. So the sons of Israel, he's saying, go talk to them and go tell them what I'm telling you. So when it talks about this Shabbat, when you got these two nouns, okay, together, this is the Shabbat of Yahweh, okay, or to Yahweh, for Yahweh, okay. So like it says for us, for 6 days, it's telling that the land needs 6 years. So you can work this land, okay, for 6 years, right? You can do all the work that you need to do through it. And she, okay, because that's what we're talking about, a feminine, she's going to, so you can sow your seed in her. You can, and for 6 years, you can prune her. You can, gather your grapes for your vineyard, and it will actually bring forth its fruit for 6 years. Okay. They have a direct object marker right here. And what does that direct object marker mean? If you can remember.
It's an arrow pointing.
It's an arrow pointing, which is literally to a mark. So it's the ox that's going towards the mark. So again, since it's an arrow, it's telling what direction I need you to go. Okay. So the direction that one is going is the action, right? So this is what it's doing. This was like pointing the actual verbal action towards what I'm talking about. Okay. That's what that means. Right. So you're getting to your destination. So what he's talking about is the fruit of your fields, the fruit of your vineyards. Okay. And so all these actions that I'm telling you about, pruning, about sowing, about gathering, has to be pointed to this result right here, which is called a tavuathah. Okay. And a tavuathah is not literally, see, they be messing up. It's calling it a fruit. Okay. It's not a fruit. It really isn't. All right. let's look at what it is. Let's talk about what a tavua thought is. A tavua thought is actually what they would call produce. Okay. So if you're just thinking it's fruit, then we might be a little bit off, right? So here, look, it's what they call produce or product or revenue. Okay. So we're talking about a revenue source, and we're talking about a product. And that's called tavua. Okay. And so we're going to find out a lot more about this tavua. Okay. There's a bunch in it. So basically, what we're getting introduced to is how Yah wants them to respond and act in the land, how he wants them to understand about working this. Okay. So all the work that they do is supposed to bring forth the tavua. That's the goal. It's not just this fruit, it's the product. Okay. What do you think they're going to do with the product? What are they going to do with the product?
Eat some of it.
They're going to eat it. Okay. What else?
Maybe sell
Eat
some
it.
of it.
They're going to sell it.
They're gonna feed the cattle,
They
livestock.
go feed the cattle. Thank you, Dr. Yared. Thank you, Akoti Pam. They're going to eat it. They're going to sell it. They're going to feed it. They're going to, and then Yah says that I want you to leave a portion for the poor and for the widow and for the Leviim. Okay. So the poor, the widow, and the fatherless, and the Leviim, and those classifications of those people, Yah says, that's why I told you not to go to the ends of your field, because you have to leave some for them because they're poor. They can't afford it. Okay. Remember, he told us if you go and prune your vines, remember the idea of pruning it has to do with being violent. And it has to do with the idea of denial of something that can be made available. So for example, if I go and prune all my vineyard and I don't leave one grape, that was an act of violence against somebody because I didn't leave anything for anybody to eat. So it's not only that the widow, the stranger, and the fatherless and the Leviim are going to eat, but also too, it's the wild animals that Yah says, I need you to leave this for as well. So what can we understand about Yah's character when it comes to this land and it comes to food? What is he saying? Because he's always talking about fear me, and this is what I'm asking. This is what I'm telling you to do. I'm not asking you. I'm not making a suggestion, recommendation. These are the things that you will do. So what is he telling us? What do you see in his character so far about him saying, like, I want the land to rest? What did we see? Give me some ideas.
He wants the land to be able to produce, and as long as it's being used and not getting rest, it's not going to be able to do what it's supposed to do, supply all the needs for all the things that you just said.
Thank you. So that Shabbat and that ceasing is to bring about the rest that's needed for her. Okay. You can't, her is the land. You cannot overwork her. Okay. Because what she's doing is she's bringing forth a service. Okay. She's working. She's working. We may work the field, but she has to do her work. There's a work that she's doing. And if she doesn't get refreshed, or she doesn't get restored, or she doesn't get revitalized, and all the nutrients are being taken out of the field, she needs those things in order to produce. In order for the land to bring forth the fruit and the vegetables and the produce that it has, and in order for it to be the best, because the Most High is talking about the best, okay, that the land is going to bring forth. It says that and I forgot exactly where it's at. We can look at it later, where it says everything that I bring, you're going to have the best. So he also tells Joseph, you're going to have the best. What do you mean you're going to have the best? So if the best quality is going to be found, it has to be found under these, what they would call conditions. Okay. So we can learn from this. Okay. So Yah's using the field and he's using the ground in order to be a teaching module or a teaching aid. Okay. So what we see is not just are we supposed to live off the land, feed off the land and whatnot, but the land itself is supposed to teach us. We're supposed to learn from the land. Okay. And if we do what Yah has told us to do, and we follow the instructions that the Most High says, then we're going to get the eth, which is called the tavuatha. Then we're going to get the product, and we're going to get the produce, and we're going to get the and the revenue. Because this is where the wealth is. Okay. So their wealth is in literally, the wealth is in their health. That's where the wealth is. The wealth is in the health. And your health is determined by the food that you would eat. I see Yah as one who is providing rest for that which works. And so our Elohim is an Elohim of rest. He's not only demanded it for us, but he's demanded for the land. So if we can't get, if the only way rest for the best, or best rest. So the only way that we can literally take advantage of the opportunity of getting something that is of the highest quality is we have to seek a rest for it. You know, that's of a car. You know, I don't know if you guys follow drag racing. I used to be into drag racing. You know, the motor can only take so much, right? And then you have to give it, you can only have so many passes before you have to go back and retool and redo some things. You know, I was into horse racing. So for that, you know, they only run their horses at a certain time. They need a certain amount of rest in order for them to be able to perform. So the Most High is letting us know that performance for us is found in the best performance we can have is us to get the rest that we need. Okay. That's when you could be your best, is when you have your rest. Does that make sense? Okay. So our Shabbats to us should mean just as much to us as it does for the land. Okay. So if the land is required to have them, then surely you and I should understand what the benefits are. Okay. So Yah is using the land. Everything that Yah has done for us is to teach us about who he is. Okay. You can see his mercy. You can see his compassion. You can see his thoughtfulness. You can see all these things about the Most High, because he said this is his land. And his eyes are always upon that all the time. Okay. So that's what we got right there. So far, I've only seen this eth right here. And when I do my studies, I look for indications about what Yah's talking about. So we're only in verse number 3, and there's an eth. So we need to start looking for these, because this is what the attention should be focused on, which is called the point of designation. Destination. What's the destination? Where do I want your focus to be? Where I want the attention to be? I want it to be on the fruit. Well, why I want it to be on the fruit and the tavua and the revenue and the product? Because that's what we're going to be talking about. Okay, but in the year of the 7th is the Shabbat. So the 7th year is the Shabbat, is the Shabbathon, meaning complete rest, solemn rest, and it shall exist. It shall exist. We found out earlier in our teachings about what existence means. So here's a yod, a hey, a yod, and a hey. So this right here means to exist. This right here is talking about it. The it is referring to the third person masculine singular. Okay. What shall exist of solemn rest? This shall exist. What shall exist? This Shabbat, this 7th year. This is what we're talking about that shall be in existence. This is in connection to Yah's what? Remember, Yah's name is Yod, Hey, Wah, Hey. Okay. So these two roots, remember, share. They're exactly the same. It means to breathe, it means to become, and it means to exist. So if we don't, wow, this is powerful. If we don't acknowledge the Shabbat for the land in the 7th year, like they didn't, guess what they were saying? Take a guess. If this means to exist and is connected to Yah's name, then what were they doing? If they didn't keep the Shabbat, what does he say? What are they saying?
That Yah didn't exist.
They're saying Yah doesn't exist. And what we can learn from that is if Yah says something and we don't carry out what he said, okay, and whenever we have ability to do, then it's literally saying that Yah doesn't exist. If we have the ability to keep the Shabbat and we don't keep it, you're saying that Yah doesn't exist. If he tells us not to eat pork, then you're saying he doesn't exist. That means if he doesn't exist, it means he doesn't breathe. It means that he's not alive. And if he's not alive, then why are you and I breathing? You see, because his name is breath. That's what exist means. To be, to come, right? To become. So you got to find the connection between Yah and what they would say is the existence, which is the reality. So Yah himself is reality. And that's what we haven't been told. We've been thinking that Yah is just a God. Yah is just not a God. Yah is existence as we know it. Yah is the reality. Everything that's in creation exists because of him. There would be no trees and no grass and no fruits and no vegetables and no produce and no land or nothing if it wasn't for Yah. And by us acknowledging that, okay, then we're saying that he exists. But not only that, he didn't ask us to believe it. He didn't ask us to believe. He asked us to do by guarding and by listening to what I said. Because if you listen and you hear what I said, then you're agreeing to me and you're saying that, oh, he does exist. Because if he didn't exist, then why am I doing what he asked me to do? You see, so that's the connection. So it's saying that in that land is a Shabbat for Yahweh, not only to him, but for him in the field. Neither shall you sow in your vineyard, nor shall you prune. I don't want you to do any of these things. Okay, in your vineyard, never. I'm going to do a thismor. No thismor. So why not gather? Why not prune? What's the idea behind pruning? What do you do when you prune something?
You cut it back.
You cut it back. Okay, so you're going to cut back. So I don't want you to cut back on anything. Okay, I don't want you to cut back on anything in your vineyard. I don't want you to take seed. Okay. Why not? I want you to sow a seed. Why don't I want you to, what's sowing a seed? It's literally throwing a seed in the ground and having some expectancy. Okay. So it is going to do something, right? But it's being passive. That's why it's being put there. And then you're going to have to do something. Okay. So never to sow means I don't want you to do anything that you're expecting something from, because if you put something in the ground and it's passive, that means that you have to actually do something, because a seed doesn't do anything on its own. It needs to be planted. So there's work that needs to be done. And it's not only the work that you're doing, but it's also a work that's happening to the land, okay, in the soil. So the two beneficiaries here, or it seems like more than two, it seems like the land itself is benefiting from this no sowing, right? Because there's no work going to be done to her. It also seems like too that the actual vineyards and the trees, right? So the land is getting a relief, and the trees and the vines are also getting benefited from no work to be done on them. And also too, the people are getting a break from this. So it's not just that the land is being benefited, but the land and everything that appertains to it, and also those who are responsible for it, they are going to benefit from this Shabbat as well. So it's not just a Shabbat for the land. It's a Shabbat for the trees. It's a Shabbat for the vineyards. It's a Shabbat for the people. It's a Shabbat for the servants. It's a Shabbat for everybody. Okay. So you and I are not only benefiting from our weekly Shabbats, but also too, we're benefiting, and we also have our monthlies. What is our monthly Shabbat? Weekly is work 6 days and then you're off on the 7th. What's the monthly Shabbat? Happens once a month. It's a Shabbat once a month. What is that? The new moon, which is called Rosh Kodesh. That's the Sabbath. Okay. New moon. That's what they had, a new moon monthly. Okay. And the shofar is supposed to be blown on that day. Weekly Shabbat, monthly Shabbat. Now we have this is, and listen, we have our yearly Shabbat, because you're going to work every 6 years and then you're going to rest on the seventh. Okay. And then not only are we going to have a yearly, but you're going to go, according to what the Most High says, you're going to go for 7 Shabbats. Every 7 Shabbats, every yearly 7 Shabbats, you're going to have another time of rest. Okay. Not only in the 49th, but on the 50th, which we're about to get into, the 50th year. This right here is going to be what they call Yovel, which they call Jubilees. Okay. So look at all the time. Look at all the time that the Most High is giving us to do what? What's the purpose?
Mhm.
I'm going to
Rest.
bring you to your rest, because that's what I am. I'm an Elohim of rest, and I'm going to bring you to your rest. Okay. Because if you don't have no rest, you're not going to be your what? What rhymes with it? If you don't get any
Best.
rest,
You
you
won't
ain't
be-
going to be your best. You understand? That means that you're not going to be able to perform. And I want you to be your what? I want you to be your best. Because I said that you're a chosen people. I said that you're going to be different. Okay. Verse number 5. Then he points another direct object marker for a destination I want you to be aware of. So the first one was the tavuatha, which is the produce. Now I'm going to point you to this. What grows of its own accord. Okay. So because you're not going to prune and you're not going to cut, okay, what this is going to happen is this word safiach means not only to grow, but it means to sprout. Okay. It's going to sprout, and it's going to just sprout on its own. It's going to really it's going to flow. Okay. It's going to flow. It's going to keep flowing, meaning it's going to keep growing. I want this to happen because this is the way that everything is going to re-energize itself. So when I asked you about what about this prune, and you said, oh, that's the cut. I asked you about the sow. Well, that means that you got to dig. Some things need to be left alone in order for there to be a flow. Yah is saying at a certain time, I need something to flow. Okay. So when you're resting on your Sabbath weekly and you come to the 6th on the 7th, you're resting. Yah's really saying what you're doing is you're flowing now. Because you're not working. So now there's this flow that's going. And the thing that we don't want to talk about because we think it's, bizarre or weird, is that it's really talking about energy. That's what we're talking about. It takes energy to do everything that we're doing. It takes energy to run the body. It takes energy for the land to produce. It takes energy through the sun to make stuff grow. It takes energy. So what happens is if you start pruning and cutting and digging, what you're doing is you're interrupting the flow of energy. I don't want you to break that flow. Now it's time. It's something, it has to happen. Okay. Just like a woman, when she goes through her menstrual cycle, allow that to flow. I have to repair. I have to let her repair. I have to let her go cleansing. I have to let these things flow. These are the orders that Yah has said. It's like a river that someone stops it from flowing. There's certain things that are supposed to flow all the time, and there's other things that don't supposed to flow all the time. You see? But everything has a flow. It has energy. Okay? Rivers were designed to flow all the time. All the time. Because that's what they were made for. Okay? The land, she was created so she can have her flow. She can revive, she can renew, she can, get restored. Okay. And this is the reason why we're not in our land right now, is because our ancestors broke the flow of the energy. It's the flow of energy that causes the harvest to come. Okay. Then he says, you should not reap and the grapes of your untended vines, nor shall you gather. Because this is a year of rest for it and for the land. Verse number 6, and it shall be, it will hayatha, meaning it shall exist. You should look in this word right here, and you will see that hey, yod, hey, and that means to exist. 1961. Okay. It shall exist the Shabbat of the land. There again is the two nouns together. So the land and the Shabbat go together. You can't separate them. So if Yah's telling us that the land there's a Shabbat for the land, and he's telling us there's a Shabbat for us, okay? So anything and everything that's directly connected to the Most High has a Shabbat. Everything that he's ever put his hand to has a time for it to rest so it can be its best. I know, like I sound like one of them old 1965 cats putting words together, making it rhyme. Why? Because I want to give you something. I want to give food to you. That's what I want to do. And I want to not only give it to you, but I want to give it to your male servants. Classification of people. I want your female servants. I want your hired servants. I want your strangers who dwells with you. I want them to get it. Okay. What was different for this that I see right quick is that, where was it? All right, here it is. So when he tells Israel, remember he's talking to the sons and daughters of Israel. He's talking about talk to the sons of Israel, which includes the daughters. And he said, and he now all of a sudden, he says, you come into your land, and then he says this, lecha, second person. Okay. You got to pick up on this stuff. Second person, second person, second person. So now Yaz has been talking to the community, right? As a whole entire, the sons in the congregation, right? But now he's saying that I'm going to deal with you as an individual. I want you to understand that you are responsible. The ka here is the same ka that's here and here and here, okay, and here, okay. I'm saying that this is talking to you, individual. Okay, I'm first person, the Most High, talking through Moshe to speak to you, second person. I'm not talking third person. I'm talking to second person, which is you. That's why the ka right here is on the end. Okay. And the ka's generally, you guys, are not going to be found on verbs. They're going to be found on nouns. Okay. That's what it's going to be found on right here. These are nouns. People, places, or things. This is a noun, your livestock, you or your. Okay. So that means that's something that you own. Okay. And because you own it, right, I have to talk to you, the owner of everything that I just said. Right. So when Yah addresses the people, he's literally talking about those that he's holding responsible for everything that they own or that's underneath their control. So again, that word ka, or that what they call a suffix, right? You can call that a suffix, but it's really it's another term that you and I are going to learn later when we get in our Hebrew class about what they call a sufformative, which is a suffix. Okay, we call it sufformatives, and a sufformative is nothing but a suffix. Okay, that is added onto the end of your root, like right here. Okay, so if you notice, like we've been going over in our classes and stuff, Then once you have your roots of something, then you just add a prefix, a suffix, or infix. Okay. But this one's called a sufformative, and it has to do with the suffix. And a suffix generally has to do with that who is the ownership of what I'm talking about. Who am I addressing? Okay. Second person in this case. Verse number 7 tells us that for your livestock, and if you notice, he doesn't call the beast theirs. There's no hayaka. It's just the lahaya, meaning the beast. So they're not yours, they're mine, and which is in your land. So you're going to have these people here too, or excuse me, not people. You're going to have these beasts. They're going to be in your land. They're there too. So you got livestock. So what is y'all telling us? This environment is not your utopia. Okay. It's not going to be a utopia. All right. It's not where there's no beast and there's no threats. Okay. There's always going to be this. Okay. There's also going to be insects there. So this is not a heavenly place where you're not exposed to anything. It's real. Okay. Just like other lands and places that have all these different elements of creation in it. And he says that they shall exist all. And we know what all is. All means call, and call means to tame. I'm going to tame all of the produce, the tavuatha, for food. Okay. Going back to what Akoti Pam has said, that is used for food, is for eating. Dr. Ured has said it too, because your beasts have to eat the food. These beasts here, your livestock have to eat it. Everyone has to eat. Without your food, you don't have any survival. So when we talk about the rest that the Most High is giving to the land, it's literally saying, if I'm going to provide food for you and your animals and your servants and everyone, then this is what you have to do in order to ensure that everybody gets to eat. So if you don't do this, bad news, something's going to happen. And I attach everything that I say, praise be to the living Elohim, to a command and to a blessing. So you could choose blessing or no blessing. Okay. Verse number 8. What's safarta? The safar right there is to, usually use that for a sefer, which is called a book. But here in this idea, if it's an accounting, perfect tense, you need to give an account to yourself. Okay. So this is something that the individual, again, to lekha, to you, you're going to have to count. I'm going to look to you for counting for 7 Shabbats of years. And then you're also going to count another 7 Shabbats of years times that. And they will exist to you in the days of the Shabbat of Shabbathon. And then he goes on and tells us how long that is, which is going to be a total of 49 years. So they have a responsibility in this, because I'm talking to Lakah, and that is that Tesha, which is 9, and Arbaim, which is 49 years. In the Hebrew language, what they do is they usually put the smaller number before the bigger number. Okay. So Tesha here is the number 9. Okay. That's what it is. And then what they do is they'll say the small number, and then they'll give you the bigger number. This is the reverse, because we would say 40 first, and then we would say 9. We would say 40 and 9. They don't say, okay. In our culture, it's 9 and 40. So we address the small number first, and then we get the bigger number, and then we talk about this. So it goes from the smallest, and then it goes to the next, and then it goes to the next. So what you can see here is 9 and 40 years. Okay. 40 years. So we got 49 years that this is going to happen. So every 49th year, the Most High said, I want you to count 7 Shabbats. Okay. And then within those 7 Shabbat, those 7 years of times 7 years, how many years does a person get off? If I told you to give me 7 Shabbats of years, how many Shabbats of years do you have in 7 Shabbats? 7 times 7.
7.
You got 7. Okay. So within every 49 years, Israel gets 7 years off. That does not include the Sabbaths or the Shabbats that we get off during the week. It doesn't include the Shabbats that you get off in the Moedim. It doesn't get on the appointed times. So do you see how much time we as a people are able to benefit from? Who gets that? That's a super duper vacation for us. So out of 49 years, you get 7 years of absolutely no work. And then that doesn't include the extra year that Yah throws on top of that year. So you're literally getting 8 years, because this one right here is called the Yuval or the Yovel, known as Jubilee. Okay. So that's what this is about. So anybody that's connected to the Most High needs to understand that rest is the best. But rest is required.
Yeah, I was about to say it's vital.
Yeah. It's vital, but it's required. So to be with our Elohim means that we are a people of work, but our emphasis is on rest. So if it's on rest, and that's where the focus has been, and that's where the attention is given, how do you apply that principle besides the Shabbat to your life? How could this mean something to us outside of what we're learning? Because the Most High is using this to teach. What is he literally telling us? And somebody give me an idea of what you think he's saying. What are you seeing?
That in order to be our best, we too have to rest.
Yes. And also to everything, listen to me, everything has a breaking point. Everything. You can only take so much. So if that's the case, then in the creation and where we live and in our experiences, when we talk about our foods and we talk about, the clothing, we talk about our cars, and we talk about all the things that we possess, we need to understand there is a limit. There's limits that are on everything, because the creation itself is based upon the idea of a Shabbat, of rest. So if we don't give everything its rest, then we bring it from rest, and then we begin to bring it to ruin. In order for something to continue in its way that it was created, okay? So the Most High is letting us know, like, if you will follow what I said, and you stay within my guidelines and my kukim and my mishpatim, my rulings and my statutes and my decrees, you will allow things to flow, and there won't be any interruption. You think that stopping something is an interruption. Stopping and interrupting are two different things, people. Interruption is temporary. Stopping is ceasing at all. You understand? So if we were to understand that the Most High says, listen, I need some flow going, because it has to do with energy. So if you stop this flow, you cut off the flow, then when it's supposed to be flowing, you can ruin it. You can mess things up. See, we've been looking at it the wrong way. We've been looking at the Shabbat the wrong way. The Shabbat is about energy. It's about a flow. So when we talk about flow and we talk about energy, and I'm no guru, but also what we're talking about is frequency. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. energy is about frequency. See, energy waves, frequencies. There's different frequencies. There's something that's little, small, and there's frequencies that are like this. It's frequencies. You understand? So here's the best part, and I'll close with this. When the Most High is talking and he's speaking to us, even through the Torah that you and I are reading right now, it's sending a certain frequency. It's energy. Yah's words are energy. He says, the words that I speak to you are life. Life is energy, people. So if we ignore these words, then you and I are going to cause an interruption and a disruption in the service or the flow that Yah has created. Okay? I'm going to stop right here on verse number 9 because this is a little bit deeper and I don't want to run through that. All right? So what do you guys think so far? What do you think?
I think it makes
I'm
sense.
tripping. Go ahead.
I think it makes sense every so often. I crash once I get to that point, so I can relate to that.
Yeah. Me too. You sometimes you can overdo it. And then when you overdo something, you are going to crash. And then you're not going to be your best. And then guess what happens? From that moment forward, your frequency is off. Your energy is messed up. And then when that energy is messed up, you're going to start acting and feeling and being a certain way. And then that's going to put off the vibrations, frequency to something else and to someone else. And then they're going to feel it. And then it's going to make them feel a certain way because now they're picking up on the frequency. We're people of frequency. We're people of energy. We're not a religious people. We're a people of the earth. You understand what I'm saying to you? Go ahead, Rivqua.
I was just going to say that I think of it as likening to like the salmon and how
Okay.
the birds know where to go at a certain time. The Torah is our guide to like show us, like you said, the energy. It's like we have certain times a year. Now that I keep the Torah, I know what type of year, where we're reading the Torah, what season it is based on the Torah portion we're in,
Wow.
So it's kind of like the salmon, how they know what time of year to go up the river,
Yeah.
and certain birds migrate at a certain season.
Wow.
We're supposed to be moving with the cycles. We're cyclical people, and we're also like the energy. You're saying when the seasons change, the energy, we know we're supposed to be doing certain things. So like in fall, we know that we should be keeping Sukkot, and Shavuot is the middle of is beginning of summer, or the hotter seasons here anyway. So it's just beautiful. I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Wow, that's a beautiful thing. When you said the times in the season, I thought about the bears have to hibernate, and the animals, they go to their places. See, so it is about these cycles. And guess what? We're the people that know this. We're being navigated by Yah. He is moving us in the places that we need to be, in certain places that we need to be at. There's going to be moments where we're going to be cold. There's going to be moments where we're going to be hot. But it's the energy, you see. And once we get that energy, that energy and that frequency gets interrupted or disrupted in some type of way, it could be disastrous. So for us, as Rivqua just said, if we're not keeping the Torah, what do you think the frequency is for somebody who don't keep the Shabbat? What's really going on with them? It's not that I'm just going to kill you. You're dead because you don't keep the Shabbat. Yah is telling us you're going to destroy yourself. You're going to destroy yourself. If you go outside the guidelines of the Torah, you're dead. It's not, well, I'm going to kill you. You're dead anyway. You're dead. If you eat the wrong stuff, you're going to die. You understand? You eat pork, you're gone. Because it's going to mess up your system. It's going to mess up the energy. It's going to mess the flow up. That's what this is about, everybody. Oh, I praise the mighty Yah that he's revealed these things to us. We asked him. I didn't listen. We asked the Most High in our prayer tonight that he would open our eyes and our ears so we can see and hear the wonderful things that he has in his Torah. And he has expressly made it possible for us to hear this tonight. I didn't know this. Go ahead, Kent.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, because I've been having a lot of conversations about, like food and nutrition, vibration and energy, so when you, talked about, the vibration, energy and all that, that's big on, just the overall being, like on our health,
Yeah.
being around like-minded people, being in a certain environment, whether it's outside the household, inside the household, and all that, that has an overall benefit on your health, like mentally, physically, all that, and on the food aspect, you got foods that help you, meditate, that will help you connect with the Most High. There's certain foods that that'll raise that vibration.
Yeah.
It'll raise that that energy. So the food. So that's that's part of the reason why the Most High said eat these food. These foods are clean because it's gonna keep that your energy, your vibration. That it's gonna keep that connection with me. So when you eat these foods, that's that keeps you energetic, like you feel good, look good, move good, like you start, the overall health that you just on point, you feeling good, like you just want to be cheerful and helpful and like, oh, praise y'all, like you feeling good because like my majority of the foods I eat like is fruit. I eat so much fruit, a lot, and I eat vegetables. I still eat meat, but it's very low. So I do my breathing techniques and all that, and I be feeling energetic. I feel like I got all the wind in the world. I feel like I just like nonstop movement. Like I could do 2, 3, 4, moving jobs, then go work out.
Right.
Like I'll just be like on point, so
You on point. Yeah. So praise Yah for that, Kent. That's beautiful. Kent's an MMA fighter too. He'd be fighting people, punching people.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
But see, there you go. So this is what Yah has revealed to us tonight. That it's about the energy. This ain't, I ain't one of them guru people. I'm telling you, I can see it as clear as day. Just now, but him showing us like everything is about energy. And if we miss that and we disrupt that,
The trippy part is, David, I'm sorry, is
Go ahead.
that like we're really the people that Yah has set apart for all humanity to follow. Just like the salmon go up, like 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 you said, the bear, and if we're off track, the whole energy. That's why the earth is in the condition that it's in, because we're off.
wow. And also too, to tap onto that, remember he told us, he said, you guys are gods. Nevertheless, you're going to die like any prince. You're going to fall like them. But he said the whole world, the foundation of the earth has been undermined because of your behavior, because of the way that you act. So for us, we're the one, okay. As a people, what type of influence do we have on the world? What influence have we had on the world with our gifts and our talents? Just imagine if we were to fall in line with what Yah said, what would this world be like? You see? So we're learning these things and we're reestablishing and redeveloping our relationship back to our Creator. And with that, I say hallelujah, praise be to the mighty Yah, and thank you tonight for coming.